Welcome to week 3 lecture. Today's topic is about transnational fandom, and we are examining transnational fandom, but I want to be very clear from the beginning. We are now simply talking about how K-pop travels globally through this global fandom. The real question we are asking is why K-pop matters so deeply to people who are geographically distant from Korea, who do not speak Korean, and also who often encounter social stigma for their fandom. So what groups 1 and 2 presentations demonstrated very well today is that K-pop fandom is not accidental, casual, or purely technological. It is emotionally charged, socially negotiated, and deeply tied to questions of identity. So the two readings that group 1 and 2 presented, taken together, they ask how the first reading by McLaurin and Jin operates at a global level. The authors ask how BTS generates emotional resonance, emotional connections across cultures through effective narratives and digital platforms. And the second reading by Yoon, that group 2 made a presentation about, operates at a local level. And Yoon shows how the global effect is lived, negotiated, rationalized, and sometimes contested in specific places like Vancouver. Together, these readings show that a global fandom only succeeds when it becomes locally meaningful and personally meaningful as well. So group 1's group 1's presentation, the reading's core theme is how BTS's authenticity and social media presence create effective affinity among global fans. By effective affinity, we mean the emotional connections. And the group 1's presentation, the key points of the presentation covered: BTS's global success is driven by transcultural effect, not linguistics or national proximity. And social media as an effect infrastructure that transforms participation into identity. And BTS's authenticity through an underdog narrative of merit-based success. So Group 1 did an excellent job including their analysis of how emotional connection, media platforms, and participatory fan practices work together to produce transcultural fandom beyond language and national boundaries. And their presentation includes very strong connection section in terms of the internal connection to the Yoon's article, the group 2's presentation topic, right? And the external materials like BTS campaign and actual documentary. Their connection section was really well done. And the presentation overall was delivered nicely. And the PowerPoint slides, the slides were nicely done too. Some things to improve. The introduction of team members verbally at the very beginning of the presentation would have been helpful. On adding the names of each group members under the photo would have been nicer too. And some slides contained too many text, so you can reduce the number of text and then maybe you make them bigger font. And adding a short video clips. Some video clips would have been helpful. Okay, so let's talk about effective affinity to labor, right? Group 1 mentioned how fans voluntarily translate lyrics. In the fans' view, it's an act of devotion. They're doing it willingly for their idols, right? And they're devoted, right? But let's look at it through the lens of effective labor. So when you spend, as a fan, 5 hours subtitling BTS-related text, you are providing the fuel for BTS's global machine for free, right? And this is where love meets capitalism. it is unpaid marketing labor that actually built the BTS empire, right? And all this fan labor it came from their affective affinity, because they feel so close to their idol, right? They would do anything to help them succeed, right? But then it becomes a labor, like a free labor that you don't get paid, and that's like it shows the intersection between your emotion and kind of capitalism, like you don't get paid, but somebody makes money out of your labor, right? And the group one also allude the underdog story or underdog narrative, right? I mentioned that their agency was small when they first start, right? So these underdog narratives are about like you started with nothing, but with your hard work you succeed, you made it, right? That's the underdog narratives, and that kind of narrative gives BTS some authenticity, like they're really genuine. They could, it's not fake, it's not made up, it's not, manufactured at a factory, because they really started from nothing. They worked out and they succeeded, and they deserve the success, right? So that gives them like a authenticity, and also this, fans can relate to them and develop huge level of affective affinity, emotional connections, right? But then this, their status is like, their underdog story, starting from nothing. Their agency was very small. Now it's one of the big four, by the way. But anyways, their underdog story, if we look deeper, this underdog status isn't just about their agency size, like when they first started, very unknown small agency, but it's also about being outside the Western mainstream, right? They are the fact that they are Koreans, and their group was founded in Korea. They're starting from non-mainstream, right? Their geographical location is not mainstream, so that gives them this underdog status, and but then by mixing Korean lyrics with hip hop style, BTS is not just fitting in. They're performing hybrid resistance, which means that they're providing this the global language of music. They're like giving this idea: the global language of music doesn't have to be English only, right? So they're hybriding. Their music is it's a hybrid between like Western music style and some Korean elements, and one of them is Korean lyrics, right? And but then their songs are really globally popular, so it's challenging the Western like a standard of music, usually written in English only, right? So their underdog status kind of challenges the like a Western standard of music by hybriding that, by mixing these Korean lyrics into their songs, right? And in the past, celebrities were distant. Today, through this SNS, this technological development, we have intimacy at scale. When BTS Jungkook does a 4-hour live stream in his pajamas, it feels like a private FaceTime call, right? And this is parasocial interaction. It's no longer a hierarchy. It's a kind of a horizontal friendship that makes fans feel like partners in BTS's success. And let's move on to group 2. The reading by Yoon, the core theme of the reading is reflective racialization and the negotiation of cultural distance in a Western multicultural setting, which is Vancouver, right? And so by reflective racialization, it means the process by which consuming non-Western pop culture, like K-pop, in a Western context, prompts fans to critically reflect on their own racial and ethnic identities within a white dominant society. So the definition of reflective racialization is very specific to this context that we're using. And for these fans in Vancouver, before they consume this K-pop music, they may not they may not really thought about their racial and ethnic identities that seriously when they were like treated like a weird because they're consuming K-pop music, right? Now then, that kind of triggered them to think about their ethnic and racial identities. Is it because I'm consuming this non-white music as like maybe if you're not white as a non-white fan, or if you're white, am I being like a teased because I'm consuming this non-white music as like a white person, right? It kind of this the consumption of K-pop kind of makes them think about their own identities because of sometimes they are treated differently. Okay, so the group 2's presentation covered cultural distance is actively negotiated and it's not just a barrier. And then sometimes fandom is racialized and stigmatized, but fans strategically face this this kind of racialization and stigmatization, and belonging merge through micro participation and emotional labor. And Group 2's presentation did an excellent job in terms of the analysis of how K-pop fandom in Vancouver transforms cultural distance and racialized stigma into active practices of belonging through micro participation and emotional labor. And they also did an excellent job in their connection section. Internal connections, they made the connection to 3 different readings, not only Group 1's reading in the same week, but also 2 prior readings from last week. And there also external connection sections were really well done. Both groups actually did a good job, really excellent job in the connection sections. And their presentation was well delivered and the slides were really well made. And also their intro and conclusion sections were excellent. And then their slide also included some video or moving image clips, right? That was really well done. And we can also add, it would be nicer to add each individual group member's face under the photo in each slide. In terms of reflexive rationalization, referring back to Group 2's point about belonging, for many fans in Vancouver, especially those from the Asian diaspora, this belonging is political. As the reading suggests, they are doing fandom while misdoing whiteness. They are not just fans of music, they are choosing a cultural mirror that reflects them, not the white-centric Hollywood mirror, right? So it's it's a choice that they are making. And in that sense, it's political. It's not just listening to music simply, right? And Group 2 mentioned that the fans often hide their fandom to avoid being called a Korea boo or to avoid being stigmatized, right? Then let's analyze that shame. Like being treated as like a Korea boo is shameful, right? So let's closely look at that shame, right? This label isn't just a nickname, it's gatekeeping. By labeling these fans the way, like Korea boo, right? The dominant culture is trying to delegitimize Asian cultural power, right? And we are essentially singing a power struggle over what is considered normal, what is considered standard in Canada. So if you consume something normal, like normal music, you don't get treated like, you don't get stigmatized. But if you consume something abnormal, right? And you get you are stigmatized. So, but then who has the power to say what's normal, what is not normal, right? And we have to think about that too, right? Okay, so finally, Group 2 spoke about local K-pop dance groups here in Vancouver. These groups are living examples of contact zones. When these fans meet in downtown studio, they are transforming a physical Canadian space into a translational one. They are performing Korea in the heart of Vancouver, turning digital passion into physical reality. And we often hear media say like a K-pop is manufactured, right? And this is a very Orientalist kind of idea, which is, seeing that which sees Asians are robotic and lack creativity, right? They're just manufactured in a factory without much creativity or authenticity, right? But as we see in these readings, BTS's authenticity is a co-creation, and fans know the system is rigorous, but they value the hard work and the humanity within it. It is a different kind of realness than the Western version, or a different kind of creativity or a different kind of authenticity than the Western version. So now I want you to think about these questions. Can a fan truly be empowered while working for free for $1 billion agency, right? Somebody in the K-pop industry makes billions and billions of dollars, right? But these fans, the hard-working fans, they don't get paid for their labor, right? So who's making money? And when you are not, when you're just providing free labor, what makes them feel like empowered, right? And the second question is, how does your own ethnicity influence how you perceive K-pop? Or how, if you're a K-pop fan, how does your, ethnicity influence how other people see you, you consuming K-pop, right? And in conclusion, fandom is a complex intersection of digital labor, racial identity, and emotional investment. And next week, there will be no group presentations, and I will make a lecture on the overview of the Korean wave. Thank you for your attention, and this is it for today.